Our alarm clock is not about waking up. We outfit your greatest gear. You catch dinner before most get out of bed. West Marine, for your life on the water.
Hi, I'm Steve Roger from Into the Blue TV, and I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about sword fishing. In case maybe you haven't had a chance to do it yet, it's a really popular fishery that's going on these days, whether you're up in the Northeast or down in the Keys. It's a really cool fish, really good eating, something that we always try to have the rig on the boat. So if we're out dolphin fishing and that's kind of slow, or if we're trolling for marlin or sailfish or whatever the case may be, we always have that option. So what it takes is, we've been using the Beastmaster 9000 from Shimano. It's a great little electric reel, very light. It also has the hand crank, so if you guys don't want to use the electric, you can hand crank the fish in. You want to go with the 65-pound braid. The reason is it's a lot smaller diameter than the 80 or the 130. It gets down there a lot faster, cuts through the current a lot better, and that reel will hold enough 65 that it will allow you to swordfish when you find yourself out in a couple of 1,000 feet of water. Pretty basic. You would just make a bimini twist. You can pick up these pre-made swordfish leaders. You know, there's a couple different pound tests you can go with. This is both of these are 200. They're 150 feet long. Basically, you just loop them into your bimini twist. They have little wax loops on them where you will add your lead to the leader. From there, what we've been using is the 10-0 J hooks. Found this hook to be really productive when it comes to hooking these fish. Really like this hook. You're going to take a squid skirt. We'd like to put that up in front of a strip bait, so that your bait will be. You're just trying to get something that'll swim while you're hanging that bait down for an hour. A lot of times we'll leave the bait down for an hour, bring it up and check it, make sure you're not tangled. But this is a piece of mahi belly that we've cut out, froze, and vacuum sealed, so we can thaw that out real quick, rig this bait up, and we could be sword fishing in a matter of minutes.
Taking a schoolie dolphin and cut his belly out, real tight along the tail. So we got a perfect double strip. Now we're just going to put the hook in it and have it ready to go. 300-pound leader, 10-0 hook. That's your choice of hook. This is an owner Jobu. So we want to line it up, poke a hole through, and then bring the hook through the hole you just poked. All right. Now before we start sewing everything together, I just want to stitch the hook in place. So I'm just going to do a couple stitches right around the hook, just to keep it from turning. Most important thing about sword fishing is not to have a spinning bait. You want to leave your bait down there 45 minutes to an hour, and if it's spinning and tangling, you just wasted an hour of your life. So I'm just going to do a couple stitches to hold this hook in place before we put the whole thing together. One high and one low. Before I sew this together, I'm actually going to put a little piece of dolphin roe in the body cavity. Just a little extra scent. This is the egg sac from the actual dolphin that we caught. We're just going to put it right back in there. Just think when the swordfish bites it, those little eggs distribute throughout the water. I think it just drives them crazy. So I could be wrong, but it just works for me. So that instantly became the bait of choice for us here in the Keys, because you could throw a rubber skirt over it, sew it on tight, and we've taken a live fish right out of the water, made a bait for you before, and those are the ones. You get bit. Oh, he's not on. You don't have to wind up. Mm-hmm. You can drift to the next area where you might get a bite, and you know with reasonable confidence, you can go an hour. If you don't have a tangle, you're not having to wind up every time you get a bump, and that changed everything. That just gave us more soak time. And when your bait's on the bottom, that's where the swordfish are, and that's when you can get your fish. Now to finish it off, you just want to put some eyeballs on there. Take a rubber skirt. Just need something just to keep this operation clean. Again, it's just so you keep your bait from spinning. So we're gonna get this little head on here, like that. And then snatch that on. It's just a bloop. Now to keep that from coming off, I'm gonna take this last little piece. I'm gonna go through one time, right through the bait and the rubber squid, and just do a half hitch on that. Now he can't snatch that off either. So the whole package is ready to go. All right, trim that knot. 5 minutes, there's the swordfish bait for you.
Besides that, you're gonna want a couple lights. Some guys use one light, I use 2 lights. The first one I do about, I don't know, say 2 arm poles away from the swivel where the leader's at. The second one, I'll go maybe another 4 or 5 arm poles away. I really don't think it matters where the lights are, but what you're trying to avoid is tangling. That's very important when you're dropping this much line out. The leader, a lot of guys use 300 for your main leader. And it's always crimps, right? So we're not tying knots when we're sword fishing, we're crimping everything. It's much more streamlined, it's very strong. So we'll have a little box of crimps like this on board, so we can easily change the bait out, change the leader out. But there's a 12-pound lead that's very important. You know, some guys get away with this lighter lead, this 8-pound lead in, be it Louisiana or up in the Northeast where the current's not as strong, but in the Keys, the current's ripping always. So we try to use about a 12-pound lead. I've even used up to 15 pounds. The other thing, when you are looking for swordfish, what you want to do is you want to get outside of the drop-off. Basically down in the Keys, it's from 900 to about 1,500. So once you roll off that drop-off, you want to try to stay away from the rocks because you're going to snag. It's going to be a very expensive snag. You're not only going to lose all your braid, you're going to lose your lead, you're going to lose your leader, your lights. So you want to stay away from the hard bottom, so try to get just outside of the edge and make a drift. Check out what the wind's doing, check out what the current's doing, and see how you're gonna lay and how you're gonna drift it, so you avoid from coming inshore and getting snagged up on the rocks. The light placement is the same. The only thing different is a lot lighter lead. And what that does is really shows you the bite. And it's shallower water too.
Crimps are done. Now, I'm gonna floss these at 50 feet. We wanna fish 2 poles.
Well, then that's another amazing thing is how successful these guys are here in the Keys fishing for these swordfish. Because from what I've read and seen and actually experienced, you know, whether it's in the Northern Gulf or you know, anywhere, a lot of guys aren't dealing with this current that we're dealing with down here. You know, we are in between, you know, I guess the Gulf of Mexico dumping in, and then the Yucatan coming around Cuba, and then everything pinching down
into the Florida Straits.
Into the Florida Straits.
Coming together. It's all coming together.
A lot of things coming together right there, and there's a lot of current. It's a lot to deal with. You know, there's a learning curve there. You're gonna have to learn
throw in a wind drift, throw in some tide,
position the boat. You know, you hang up on the bottom, there's a chance that you're gonna break not just your line off, but break your rod or break something. You know, because you know, people don't realize that I'm out there all the time, and when I have a tourist on board or what have you, we'll be driving into the current, but yet we're still moving 2 knots backwards. You know, with the motors in gear.
Yeah,
and
people, head around.
I love telling them, like my kids are out there with me. I'm like, which way do you think we're going? They're like, what do you mean, Dad? Of course, we're going to the west. And I'm like, okay, well, look at this. You know, the numbers on the GPS, you know, that shows your location. I said, as a whole, yeah, we're pointing west and we're driving west, but we're actually moving.
It's a river. The Gulf Stream is a raging river right in the middle. The Florida Straits, and it drives it all.
Yeah. And that's what I tell people a lot with the dolphin, you know, is everybody's like, oh, they're all swimming to the west. They're swimming to the west. Well, basically, they're just facing west. And they're not necessarily swimming west. As a whole, they're sliding east.
They're going right by.
But they're facing upstream because
they're just trying to stay in our area a little longer to eat one more flying fish before they get swept out to sea.
What the swordfish is doing, you know, I tell people all the time, if there was dollar bills floating down a river or a stream and you went out there and got in the water, the best thing you could do is just stand still and face upstream and pick up all the dollar bills, you know what I mean? Because, and that's what I think the fish are doing with the flying fish. They're just facing upstream and picking up all the flyers.
I'm gonna floss a loop on here to clip the lead to. There is already a loop 150 feet from the hook, but we have 2 baits out 40 feet apart from each other. They tend to tangle. So we're gonna fish them a little shorter. We've had a lot of great success before. That way we both can fish today. Louisiana there's no current at all, so you can pretty much do whatever you want with 4 pounds of lead, but we're gonna have to be using 6 and 8, maybe 10 pounds today. So we'll drop our lighter lead down first, get it scoped out, then ease down the second one, and they'll be separated by 100 yards. All right, get rid of that. Now, I'm still all about fishing one with no tangles, but my partner Steve wants, he'd rather risk a tangle and have 2 weights down in case one gets knocked off the hook. And when we're fishing together, we've had really good luck doing it this way. So we're just gonna get set up, small little alteration to our normal rig, and then we'll have
charter boat captain for 25 years, Scott. You get good at taking those knots out, man.
You have the patience of Job when it comes to pulling tangles. I like to just buy more rigs.
If you're not tangled, you're fishing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I feel. And so not getting tangled is a rig that you showed me, and that's where we take what our sinker is.
Well, you had to move the sinker further away from the bait for starters. So they came up with, a nice formulas, pretty much 150 feet. They can be longer or shorter, but if you want to get down every time, and 9 times out of 10 without tangles, pretty darn good.
Right.
You get that long leader. It does 2 things. You don't have to leave the lead on the bottom anymore with the breakaway, which was never a good practice, and it's really tough making concrete or rebar. You can do all those things, but they just aren't streamlined enough as a clean 8-pound lead stick.
No, I like the lead stick. They fit in the rod holder.
Mm-hmm.
But again, hey, I don't know if obviously you've seen the price of lead these days.
Mm-hmm.
It's pricey. So getting rebar cut is definitely affordable, and making concrete little buckets are affordable as well.
For me personally, it's not streamlined like the sticks, and I like a nice and clean presentation. And 150 feet, usually the fish still hasn't made his move to the surface. You can get that thing unclipped, and then when the jump sequences start, you actually have the lead taken off.
And that's it. Basically, pretty simple. I call it sword wishing instead of sword fishing, because basically you're going to spend a whole lot of time kind of just waiting around. I have dropped before and had a bite immediately before we even hit the bottom. And I've also hooked blue marlin, I've hooked tuna fish doing this, big mahi-mahi. So there is other rewards in that sword fishery. But if you've never done it, I think you give it a try. It's very exciting and you can be rewarded. I caught a fish over 500 pounds on that Beastmaster 9000, so we can handle it. Everything you see here you can pick up at West Marine, from the leader, the lights, the rod, the reel, the weight, the hooks. So get in there, get you some of this swordfish gear, and get out there and give it a try. Good luck.